Okay, guys, everybody, welcome to our Hawaii Hustlers Monday night Jewel Call. We are so stinking excited to have Michelle and Tim Thomas as our guests tonight. Well, we all probably know them from the Rock the Pink Live because they totally rock that out on Monday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern time. But I actually had the pleasure of meeting them in Atlanta just a few weeks ago. We did a jewel training together, and so I was just really blessed by getting to know them and spending some time with them, and just like so many diamonds and jewels in our company, just genuine and down to earth and just ready to help and help us all be successful. So when I presented the opportunity here to say, hey, we've got this group, and there's like 6 of us that put a challenge group together to help our teams get to Hawaii. Could you guys speak and help us out? They said, absolutely, sure thing. We would love to. And so we love that this is sort of the theme tonight is how a couple works Plexus full time and how you do it together. And so we're just super excited to turn it over to you guys to tell us a little more about what that's like.
Well, thank you.
Wow. This is a big topic.
Yeah.
It's a big topic.
This is an interesting one. But just so you know, our motives weren't completely pure because we're having you on Rock the Pink tonight. So, it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah.
Totally joking, though. We love helping any
yeah,
team.
We do.
We love helping any team. Well, first, I'll kind of start this off just a little bit by saying that, everybody's story is so different. And everyone's, relationship, marriage, everyone's kind of gets into this from a different angle, from a different place. And where this has evolved for us is not where we thought when we first started. Mm-hmm. So, I like to say that because where we're working together now, what we're doing now, that's like going from silver to diamond. Like when we first started and how we were working this business together looked way different when I started to what it looks like now. This has completely evolved, and you have to let it evolve in your life. I feel like the same way. Like you have to figure it out together. So that's kind of my first preface. My second one is that working anything together full time is not easy. It doesn't come without its challenges. So that's second preface. And third, let's get started.
Well, third thing I would say is, before we get into this, we've always tried to keep in mind, should speak up a little bit. She's so much louder than I am.
Yes, I
am. We always keep our marriage priority over our business. No matter what, our marriage is priority over our business. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't times where the business is consuming and we're working nonstop. But that does mean that at times we have to take a step back and make a choice to pursue our relationship over our business. And that is the most important thing, because you know what? If our marriage fell apart, which is not going to, but if it fell apart, then this would all be for nothing anyway. That's how I view it. So we always make sure of that. So as we go through talking about all this, we want you all to know that that's where we come from.
Yes. So first of all, just a little bit of our story. I got started in this business. We made a principled decision. Well, Tim made a principled decision. I had been working full-time, 40 plus hours a week. And God spoke to Tim and told him that he was supposed to be the provider and that I needed to quit my job and stay home with the kids. And I was making about 3 times what he was making at the time. And so it was a very, God told us to do this. This is what we're supposed to do decision. So I quit my job, stayed at home with the kids. And you know what? God did provide. Tim took on working a second job. I took on babysitting more kids. And I had committed to Tim at the time, because we were doing this out of principle, that I was not going to go work under anyone else ever again. That the only thing that I could do was like the Proverbs 31 woman, was that I was going to do whatever I was going to do was under the headship of my husband. So I could do something from my home, or I could do something to try to make extra money, but I was never going to do something that was going to be outside of that principle in our life. And so,
and let me put a caveat out there. That was a decision that we made probably a year before it actually happened.
yeah,
Because we're practical. We understand that there are practical things in people's lives. It was that way in our life.
yeah,
And so that decision for us to do that, and we're kind of telling you guys a piece of the story that probably no one has ever heard quite the same as what we're telling you right now. But that decision was made, but we had to walk it out, and it took some time to be able to get there. And but once the decision was made, we started moving in that direction, and we were able to do it. We did it by faith. I mean, it was purely based on belief that God was going to provide.
Yeah, and He was going to bring something to our lives that was going to be provision. And so months after we had, I'd been staying at home and moving to a different location and everything else, Plexus was brought into our life. And my friend told me about it, and it was a mutual friend. We both knew her, trusted her, loved her. And so she told us about Plexus, and I didn't jump on board right away. After a few months, I asked him, I said, Tim, my sister wants to join this, which means I need to join it because, we're family, we do it together. And I said, can I join this? And I feel like that's like a really big key for husband and wives, like there should be like, not just a permission, but I feel like that people should respect each other in this business. And so anyways, I asked him if I could do it, and he said yes, and I didn't believe much in myself, and he's like, I believe you can do it. He said, but you have to make $50 a month. Like, we had no money, and
it was hard. It was really hard.
And so at the beginning, Tim's role in this business was just giving me permission.
I really just
doing it.
Believe that if she put her mind to it, if anybody can make $50 a month, it was Michelle. And we knew that Sonia Dudley was already doing well, so I believe that if Michelle put some effort into it, she could do it. So, but I honestly didn't have a ton of belief in network marketing. I didn't have a ton of belief in the products. It was new to me. And I just went with it because it was something that she wanted to do. And I felt like, this is something she wants to do. And I saw that desire. So I felt like it would be awesome for her to be able to do that. So
he just, at first just supported the fact that I was going to do the business. The second level of support Tim gave me was the fact that he didn't want to try the products. And then finally came around to trying the products. Now, see, this is our story. There are some husband and wives team that got in this where the husband got in first, and he saw the business opportunity right away. This was not us. For me, I got in, he gave me permission, and then he reluctantly started taking the products and fell in love with the products. And then my business started exploding. Like, I'm talking, things started happening. And Tim would come home from work, and I would be like, this on my phone. I'd be like, and Tim would be like, wait a second. We
had ups and downs there for a while. She was really into it, and I didn't get it at first. I didn't understand how you could be spending so much time on this thing. Now we know what it is. It's called Plexomnia.
Yeah.
And she would be, and it was like, it felt like at times like it was out of balance. We had to talk about that. What's the balance in all this? And so we worked through that. That was one of those beginning stages where it was like, okay, we need to take some time for just us as a family. And then I needed to also give her room to be able to do what she was doing because she was being successful with it. And she needed that time to be able to make that happen.
Well, and then the next level of togetherness that happened was probably about 6 months into it. We were getting a check, and I'd almost replaced his income. Like, it was almost to the point to where we were going to be matching incomes. And I knew that God had put it in us. Like, I knew that there was, I didn't want to get to the point to where like it was a Michelle show. Like, I was the one that was running the ship because we had already passed that. Like, we knew that God had put it in us that Tim was the head of the home. Like, he was the head, like, of everything. He was financially providing for us, which he was. This was a blessing that come into our life. And so I called Tim from work one day. I'll never forget it because this was also like a big moment in my business, and it changed everything for us. But I got a call from my friend, Sonia Dudley, and she said, Michelle, you're going to the top of the company. And I said, I am? And she's like, yeah, like, you have momentum, and you're going to be an emerald. And I said, no. because I didn't get into it with that thinking. Like, I'm just a worker. You know, I'm just doing the work. You know, and like I just wanted it, but like I didn't have the belief that it was going to happen. I didn't. Sonia Dudley, my upline and friend, from the day one that she called me, she said, I'm going to the top of the company. I'm going to drive a Lexus and I'm going to Maui. I mean, from day one, she said that. For me, that was not, I didn't have the belief of that. My belief was like, I'm going to go silver. And then it's like, oh my gosh, my belief raised a little bit to where I could go gold. Oh my gosh, I get to gold. Like maybe I could go senior gold. Like that was my belief system. So about 6 months into it, she calls me. She's like, Michelle, you're going to the top of the company. And I said, there's just no way. And she said, she goes, I've seen it over and over again. Like the numbers are happening. Like your momentum will take you there. And she goes, you're doing the things that, and so I get on the phone. I hang up from her. I call Tim. I said, Tim, I'm going to the top of the company. And he's like, what? And I said, seriously, Sonia told me I was. Like, I'm going.
I remember that phone call. It was like, in my mind, I'm just barely able to accept it, but I was also really excited. It made me like start to really think of this as something big.
And so from that moment on, I said, Tim, like, you have to jump in on this. Like, this can't just be. She started
talking about it more seriously like that.
I said, this can't be my thing, because I knew that wasn't going to work for us, because it wasn't going to work for like the dynamic of our relationship. And I said, you have to jump in, or else like this is like not going to work. And so he jumped on board, not fully because he was still working and we needed the income, but he jumped on board all in with his support, with his like.
I started going to all the meetings. I started going to vendor events. I started like learning a lot about the products and started sharing them. Now, I already had a testimony by that point, so I was excited to share the testimony.
He believed in the products at that point.
Yeah.
But and this is the belief system. So this is about Emerald, right? This is a Going Emerald group, right? Okay, yeah, okay. So I'll tell all you guys, this is just like a small side, and we're like talkative, so we'll probably have to be cut off here. But anyways, so like I'll tell everybody here that's wanting to get to Emerald, like I always say that you're like one mindset shift away from going to the top of the company. And the reason why, the reason why that is because I was just doing, Hawaii Hustlers. Okay, I like that. I was just doing the required work. Like I was just working. But I'm going to tell you, when Sonia looked at me and talked, or she wasn't looking at me, we were on the phone. When she like told me that this was happening, I was going to the top of the company, and like she built that belief into me, like everything changed for me. So I will tell you guys as leaders, or I don't know what level everybody is on this call, I have no idea, but I'll tell you, whether you're the leader, think about that for people on your team. That belief in them, telling them that, could change everything for them. And the fact of you believing that it's possible can change everything for you, because I worked my business from that point on as if I was an Emerald. I was working my business right then as if I was like a senior gold ambassador. But when she told me that and we believed it, like I worked it like I was at the top of the company. Mm-hmm. And it was a total shift. So Tim changed everything. You know, Tim jumped on board. We started doing it together. Like there was more of an effort together at that point. And then I hit leaders retreat. Okay, we went to leaders retreat. My first year. Story up a little bit. I have to speed this up. Yeah. Okay, I went to leaders retreat, and Eric Worre was there. It's my first year, and he was like basically like, he was just talking about going all in, and it was like I couldn't hardly sit still. Tim was at home because he couldn't go with me. He had to go to a trade show, and it was like I get home and I was like intense. And he was almost senior Ruby at the time, and I was the next month I was going to hit Emerald. Like I was for sure going to be over Emerald. I was senior Ruby. He was going to be senior Ruby soon. I was going to be Emerald. And he gets home, and I'm like, okay, I've been to this leaders retreat. This like changed everything for me. And I said, if I could do this by myself, what could we do together? And because even though he was all in, I mean, I was technically doing all the day-to-day work at this point because he was working full-time, and he was supporting me from a sense of like
I was going and I was talking to people a lot, but I wasn't the day-to-day stuff like getting on Facebook and messaging people and responding to questions, and a lot of that stuff she was still doing. So,
so this is when the risk got involved.
So what happened was she comes back from that meeting and she's all about it. And she's just like, what if we went all in? And she's like saying, here's what we could do. We could talk to this many people. If we do all this, you know, we can make this happen. And I felt some resistance at first, but I started to realize that we had the potential. And I started to realize that if I didn't do it, we run the risk of things getting really wacky and out of balance. So
because I was getting really, really busy.
Yeah,
a lot of demand.
I just decided that in January, after 2 months after she hit Emerald, I went full time, and I told gave my notice to my boss, and I told him what I was going to do. And you know, my boss, he goes, well, you know, this is network marketing, you know, and you know, I just want you to be careful. And I mean, now remember, this is like almost 3 years ago now.
No, 2 years ago.
It was 2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago. Sorry.
Yeah, almost 2.5 years ago. And he said, you know, I just want you to be careful, you know. And here we are she's just gone Emerald, and I'm still senior. I'm still Ruby. But you know what? My belief was there, and I'm just telling you that part for the guys on this, because you're going to have people that will naysay what you're going to do. And you're going to have people that will try to make it sound like what you're doing is small and that it can't work. So, so I did it in the face of that. Mm-hmm. Even when I had people telling me it was too big of a risk. And you know what? I haven't looked back and regretted it for 1 second. I've had tough times, things I've had to work through, but I love that. I actually felt like I was making my own way. I was making my own decisions, and somebody else wasn't telling me how to do it. And I felt like something was at stake for me, and that actually made me go harder than I would have if I was working for somebody else. And I look back now and I realize, you know, no job is ever secure. You could walk in tomorrow and they could be laying people off. And that's the reality of the world that we live in. And so at least here, I have a better say in what I'm going to do. You know, I did it in the face of that. So I went full time in January, and it was like literally, we crossed the line. I didn't burn a bridge, but I can say that we dug a deep trench in between, you know, what we were doing and what we are doing now. And we didn't look back.
So what happened when he went full time?
So we're transitioning here. That's how it all happened. So here's what happens when you go full time.
It's hard. So when you go full time Plexus and you're working as a husband and wife.
It was just, what it was that we weren't used to each other's routines. She was used to doing her thing.
I needed him to go somewhere.
I was used to, I wanted to do some things. I wanted to bring in these different creative ideas. That was my thing. But then I wanted her to, you know, it was almost like she felt like she couldn't do what she was normally doing because I was sitting there and she needed to somehow, I don't know, pay more attention to me or something. I don't know. It was just weird. Neither one of us really knew what was going on.
I went to an appointment when we first went through this transition. I went to this appointment, and it was this facial guy, the lady, I don't know. She said, she goes, oh my gosh. She said, your husband just did what? She said, the day my husband retired, after a couple months of him retiring, she said, we got a divorce. And I'm like, what? That was my first interaction with somebody saying what it's like to work together, full time. And so anyways, it was kind of difficult, but I will say, what are we on?
Point? Talk about this.
Okay. One of the things that we had to come to, when he quit his job, it wasn't just that he quit his job, but we were going through a major issue with Plexus. Okay, Plexus had just changed their accelerator formula. I don't know if any of you were around during that point, but we had really built our business. Now we personally hadn't. We had built it on health and a lot of other stories, but we had a huge amount of people on our team that had built it really fast on that weight loss and that original accelerator. And so when we transitioned over and he had worked full time, it was like the bottom was falling out of our team.
Like people were just trying to get a grip. They didn't understand what they were doing in this business. And they had to reformulate everything in their mind and get to the place where they were like, this is about health and weight loss. not just about, one product. And so when that happened, it was tough. So I just quit, and then we got slammed right in the face with this.
A bunch of people quitting.
I can tell you that even though, what we're going through in the back office is tough, we've been through stuff. And that was really tough.
Yeah.
We lost a lot more people through that than we have through the back office thing.
Because our products haven't changed. They're still amazing.
Right.
And, there might be shipping delays, but you know why people are so mad? Because they want those stinking products, and it's like the products are changing lives. So anyways, we tell you this because the business wasn't all like, it's not all been easy. We lost a lot during that time. And we also, during that month of January when he quit his job, we also had lost 70 people to a compliance issue. This lady was going out and recruiting. I didn't even know that she was like my level 3, and she was going out and recruiting. She recruited 75 people,
homeless people,
stealing their social security numbers. It's probably the biggest fraud case that Plexus has ever had. They said it was like the biggest ordeal. So this all happened the month he quit. And I told Tim, I said, you need to go back to work, like now. Like, we cannot do this. And I was scared. And he stopped me, and he looked at me, and I'll never forget this. This is another moment, like in our Plexus journey. And he said, we've already chosen success. We cannot quit now. Like, we've already chosen success. And so we just figured it out. That right during that hardest times is when we just, what were we gonna do? And that's when we started Rock the Pink Live call, our Monday night call. That during that hard time was when we started our training call. It is when we made a lot of decisions. We decided to go back to Ohio, which is where my family was, and it's really where the majority of our team was. And so we packed our family up, moved across the country. And so, okay. Right. Anyways, the bottom line is that I'll finish this little part and then we'll move on before, oh my gosh, it's 8:23. Before we move on. Okay, I'll finish this up by saying, someone asked me this last week when I was in Dallas and Oklahoma for the opportunity meetings. She said, has it ever been difficult? Like just Plexus business? Like, or has it always been like easy? Well, we've lost rank. We went backwards. We thought we were going to murder each other, like we have had, like we thought like everything was like my family wanted to quit on me at times, but here's the thing. I'm a diamond now. He's working towards diamond and absolutely going to be diamond. Emerald. He's emerald though now. And I
lost rank. I went from senior Ruby back down to Ruby and built back up from Ruby to Emerald.
And I was Emerald, and when the accelerator changed, I was on pace that it should have only taken me 2 months to go Sapphire. That's how much points I was gaining. Well, it took me 15 months to go Emerald to Sapphire. But then it only took me 3 months to go from Sapphire to Diamond. And I'll just tell you that sometimes you have to like grovel. Sometimes you have to like figure out the hard stuff. Like sometimes you have to like, okay, we're going to work this business together. And every day it might be like, how are we going to work through this? It might be a struggle, but like, it has been worth it.
Bottom line is that all this stuff, we're telling you all this hard stuff because we don't sugarcoat it, but we can tell you 100%, 1000%, it's worth it.
Yeah.
We love what we do. And it's very fulfilling. We have more freedom of time, more money than what we ever imagined having. We can do anything with our kids. We can take off. We can travel. This is the biggest blessing, and we get to help a lot of people in the process. So the biggest blessing. So real quick, we're going to hit 2 things, and then we need to finish up.
Yeah. Okay.
So the discovery that I had to come to, this is for all of you guys out there who, when you make this transition, or when you start to really try to work the business along with your wife, or maybe you started the business and she's coming along with you. The thing that you're going to have to figure out is, at least for me, it was, we have different strengths, and that's good. We can help each other, and we need to work to each other's strengths. There came a point where I needed to let go a little bit and let her do her thing, because she was good at it, and not worry about that. And let her handle her stuff, and I'll handle mine, and then we'll both bring some things to the table that we can each use and help each other with. And so when I got over needing to control those things too much, then it started to get easier. And so I'll say that work to your strengths. Never try to focus on improving your weaknesses. You can improve some weaknesses a little bit, but they're never going to get you where you need to go. Always work from your strengths and improve on your strengths, and let those things shine. And then, so that was one big light bulb moment for me that I had probably about a year and a half ago.
And because I'll say, like, I feel like I could have, not that I could have done it on my own, but I feel like I could have gotten to Emerald on my own. But I would not be sitting here at Diamond without him. Like, I mean, he brought to the table as far as to our business was a big picture thinking. And it's a lot of us women, like, when it's hard, when the going gets hard, like, I'm going to go hide in the closet, you know, like it was difficult, like the drama during like these hard things, like the back office, people call me crying and they're like, I'm breaking out in hives, I can't deal with this. And it's like, oh, you know, and he was always that big picture. It was always, you know, we have to stay one step ahead of our team. We have to stay this, you know, it was always that like press. And it helped me not be able to get down. And so, like, I can say that I may have gotten to Emerald on my own, but to get to Diamond, it was him. And it was him leading the team and his ideas and his thoughts. So that's where when he says, focus on your strengths, you know, we did have different strengths, and his strength was absolutely big picture. And it was like getting your mindset right. And that mindset is what is going to take you to that next level. So from a biblical, because, you know, we could go here, we could sit here and we could say, like, we are a husband-wife power team in Plexus. But I feel like the only reason why we are a power team in Plexus is because we understand how to have a biblical marriage. And I feel like if you can understand how to have a biblical marriage, then you can do anything together well. And and having a biblical marriage comes from understanding the authority in your life. You know, my husband is the head of our home. And in today's day and age, women rule. That's what they think. And a lot of these women, because this is a primarily woman business, a lot of these women get into Plexus and they start seeing the success, and their husband becomes the second thing. And I will tell you, that's not going to work in doing it right. I mean, it might work, but it's not going to work in what we believe.
Well, there's going to be tough. You're going to take a tough thing and it's going to be even tougher.
Yeah.
And so what it comes down to is simply that we try really hard. Like I said, I preface this first by saying that we work to our strengths, because I realized that I needed to allow for her to do her thing sometimes, and because she's really good at it.
Thanks.
But there are times where there's some, you know, maybe a disagreement in direction, and at some point somebody has to make the decision. And so what she's basically saying is just that from a biblical perspective, that falls on me to make that decision. I'll also say that the responsibility for the outcome falls on me too. So if it doesn't go well, it's my fault. And I've accepted that. I understand that. So that's how we approach it.
So just some practical things with that. We don't plan meetings unless we're both in agreement. You know, like our schedule is shared. We have a shared schedule so that we can see what each of us are doing, like as far as meetings wise. If things get out of balance, we're scheduling too many meetings, it's like, whoa, we take Sundays off, social media off the business, so we don't do anything on Sundays as for our families. So that's like high priority. So just some practical things that we had to do to kind of establish some boundaries.
It's got to be about family first.
Yeah.
It's got to be about your marriage and family first. And this business can be absolutely extraordinary. And we don't know where everybody's coming from. I mean, we're talking about stuff from a biblical perspective. We're not trying to pretend like we know that everybody is on the same page with us. We're just telling you our story and where we come from and why we do it the way we do it. And we've been successful. And so we're just sharing that with you all. We were asked to do it. So
and that's it.
Let me unmute myself. Yes. Wow. 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 What a blessing your sharing has been. I know to everybody on this call. I know certainly to me. You guys. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I guess we're gonna just we probably need to get ready for the next call, right?
Yeah, about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
We're good.
So awesome, you guys. If anybody does have any specific questions, maybe we could spend like 5 minutes on a couple questions.
Yeah.
You guys can send them via chat, or you can unmute yourself. It's always fun to get live on Zoom.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Anybody have anything for these guys?
Yeah, I do.
Hey, Rachel.
Thank you, Michelle. How are y'all?
Hello.
Good.
Got my hubby Shane here. So we're looking like we're going to go Emerald this month.
Woo!
All right.
We're super excited, and some of our team are on here. So our teammates, Amanda and her fiance, and then Kimmy and her husband. And so Shane and I were just talking, like y'all were saying, okay, we take Sundays off, this and that. We only have 2 weeks to go. Should we kind of stay where we're at and then kind of like then transition after Emerald? Because I know both of us are getting kind of exhausted, and I'm kind of like, I just keep saying, like, just give me 2 weeks, and Jesse's here, sorry. Or should we like start transitioning now? You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I think that like for us, like you can answer that. Well, for us, like, there's times that you're just completely out of balance. I mean, and it's intense. When we were going Diamond Emerald, we went Diamond Emerald on the same day. Like, and the last day of May, I hit Diamond, he hit Emerald on the same day. Now, you can ask my kids and everybody around us in a probably 10-block radius. We didn't have any balance in our life. Like it was like.
But we knew that was what it was gonna take to reach that huge goal that we had. So, just like we said, when she left her job, we didn't decide like, okay, we're gonna make this principal decision and you're gonna quit tomorrow. I mean, that would have been stupid, right? Mm-hmm. But it was what we felt like we were supposed to do, so we made a plan and we did it. But we had to do it in the right timing. Okay, so it was very practical. So I would just say, I would encourage you guys to be practical and do what you're doing. Go for it, and then make your transition. Decide, do what you feel is best as far as transitioning goes.
And pray about it. Like if you're a Christian, or if you're like, if that's what you're doing, I feel like this business has been so inspired, and that God has given us direction in the times where we had no clue. Like I feel like that there is been times where we literally had no clue what to do next. We were going backwards, and Tim was praying. He's like, God, give me a plan. And he woke up one day and he said, God gave us a plan. God gave me a plan. And he literally did. I mean, from that was he gave us a plan, and it turned our businesses around. So don't just you can be inspired by someone, but let it be inspired by God for your life, because every life is different.
Okay,
totally.
Somebody, did I answer your question?
And we'll be praying for y'all too. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody asked, let's see, from Melanie, Tim, and other hubbies on here, how long did it take you to jump on board with the business? I mean, it probably took me 4 months before I really started to recognize how great of a business it was. It probably took me 6 months before I started to participate, and 12 months before I really went full go. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's different for everybody though. Some people, the husband jumps on first. I mean, that's.
Okay, someone asked that I give him recruits, and I'll say this, I hear this all the time, like I'm not putting anyone under, like he has to do this. We really work this business. Like every person I put under him is basically under me too, like my level one. Like I don't, it's not like his team, my team. I work with his team. He works with my team. Like there's people that I have on my level ones that love to hear from Tim. And so like, this is like
we treat it like, I treat all of her level ones, even though she's over me, I treat her entire team, they're my team.
Yeah.
Like Rock the Pink is our team.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So there are times where she's put people under me, but we go back and forth sometimes.
Yeah, like I just added someone to my level ones because I want to keep my level ones strong, and I feel like I needed another leg. Well, then, you know, he adds everyone under him because he's obviously trying to reach the next level. Yeah. And so our goal is for both of us to hit diamond, and then for us to both re-enter and race to double diamond.
Love it.
Hey, I have a question. Can you guys?
Yeah.
This, you don't even understand. Like, I had my name's Amy. I just turned emerald in January. Aww. So my husband put which he's such the skeptic, and he's definitely not the one that would ever like take a risk. So he put his notice in for May 13th. Wow. And I'm panicking a tiny bit, and I'm never that way. So, and he's like real confident. So
that's awesome.
I know. I'm so excited because the thing that changed for him was Leaders Retreat. Just this past year was the first event he ever went to. And when we came home, he was like, and by then I was already senior Ruby, but he said, this isn't your thing anymore. Now this is our thing. But my question is, how vital do you think it is for him to, like, he takes the products, he likes the products, but he doesn't know, like, I do everything business-wise so far. So far his job is to let me do my meetings. So is it really, like, he's so organized and I'm not. I've done everything off the top of my head. Like, we don't totally know our strengths and weaknesses. But is it important for him to be doing, like, what he said to do is maybe make a list. So he's going to be contacting customer service for me or making lists to send out to, you know, potential, I don't know, like just the organized administrative stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you think he's going to do that, or does he really need to know? Like, I've already built, he's going to be gold this month, and I started putting everybody under him when I hit emerald. So what do you think?
I would say that first of all, he needs to work to his strengths, but if you're going to be a Plexus ambassador, you need to understand the basics. I mean, he needs to know the products and the compensation plan as a Plexus ambassador. I mean, that's just basics. And that'll make him feel more confident and probably help him with the stuff that he's going to be contributing. Because it's hard to call about all the issues if you don't really understand the business. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, that does make sense. If he's even allowed to call the emerald line, I don't even know.
No, he wouldn't be. But Amy, like, I would say one thing that we've had to really work to be careful with and to make sure that, like, we're doing our best is that, you know, like, a man values, like, one of the big things that a man values is what he's contributing.
Right.
And I feel like, you know, as, like, when that was one thing, you know, when Tim went full-time in Plexus, like, he had to kind of find his footing.
Yeah, it took me a little bit of time to figure out, okay, what is it I'm going to do? Now I do coaching, I do, you know, all the stuff that you as Plexus
now
ambassador.
He recruits more than I do. So,
but at first it was more like it took me a little time to get into that group. Does that make sense? So it might take him a little bit of time.
But I feel like,
but he'll figure some stuff out.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, one thing that there was this perception for a long time. Now I think we're getting out of it because we're seeing a lot more men working the business and a lot more husband and wife teams doing it. But when we were going, we were, you know, both of our uplines had husbands that they weren't working the business. You know, and they were like happy to call their wives sugar mamas and stuff like that. Well, and like, you know, like just riding the gravy train, you know, saying stuff like that, and they were like happy with it. That wasn't okay for us. Like Tim wasn't just, I wasn't like, I'm not his diamond upline. That's what he tells me all the time. I'm not his diamond upline. And, or, you know, he appreciates what I've done, but we do this together. And so I think that's important too.
I just have a quick, like, logistical question. We have 3 little ones, and so I think for us, like, me going to events so he can stay home with the kids, but then it's kind of like that ownership isn't really there. So for you guys, I'm just curious, for events, is it like pretty much standard that both of you are at events together, or do you kind of like tag team, like you go do this, you watch the kids, like how do you guys go about that?
Typically we do the meetings together. Yes. But we do have certain times where she'll go do a meeting, and then I have times where I'll go do a meeting. So but we try to do them together as much as possible. When you have family, that's not always the case. So it depends on who it is. If it's like Michelle works a lot with her sisters. So if her sisters are going to do a meeting and they want Michelle to come, I'm not always at those meetings because they're tag teaming. You know what I mean? And her sisters need to be able to be a part of that, you know, speaking and doing those things. But for the most part, we try to work it together. So what I would encourage you guys to do is, you know, find a good person that you trust to be able to help you with your kids.
Because
you want that ownership. You definitely want that ownership.
Because ultimately, nobody wants to just feel like the stay-at-home babysitter,
Right.
And the secretary. So I'll say that because a lot of times, like, if one person has predominantly been doing the meetings like that, it's just easy to run over the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you're going to work this business together, then, you know, work it together. And sometimes that's making sacrifices by having a babysitter come, or, you know, making the other person feel like they're wanted, you know. And I mean, those are just small things, but we see it all the time. Women will run over their men, or, you know, men will just kind of stay in the background because maybe they don't feel like this is like a women's world. Well, it's really not. Like, this is a man's business too, and it's just a choosing. I feel like it's a choosing.
Michelle, I feel like what you're saying is so true. And in network marketing, I feel like we're almost at a higher tendency to do that. It's more of like a vulnerability because there's so much praise when you go emerald. There's so much praise when you go sapphire, diamond. And if you don't have that kind of biblical marriage and connection, I feel like it'd be so easy to fall into that trap. And that's where the enemy could get an easy foothold in a marriage too. Like, I like that y'all are preaching protection in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just had a guy. Oh, I'm sorry. Were your husband going to say something? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, it's. I mean, that's something because we've been talking about doing this together and just exactly what that would look like, and we kind of battle back and forth on this, and don't really have a clear picture of what it would look like if we both did it together, and so we've been kind of talking through the logistics of all that.
Yeah, he's open to quitting his job.
I basically said I'm not going to be your secretary.
Amen. And be strong on that.
Yeah, to be fair, I just couldn't see it because, like you were saying with Michelle, like, I know how to do this day in and day out. I know how to do this on my phone. I know this through my computer. And Shane does the reports. Like, I have no idea how to integrate him into the daily stuff, like who messages who's in charge of what. Because it's just a second nature to me now. I've been doing this for 2 years as of April 4th. So it's like, you know, it's a transition. But he's definitely considering quitting his job to do Plexus with me. So we're definitely prayerful about it, which is exciting.
What's your name? What's your name, bud?
I'm Shane.
Shane? Shane, dig in. Like learn how to do the back office stuff. Learn all the products, everything you need to know, and learn how to do all the messaging. And one big thing for guys, I'll just say for all the guys on here, we aren't as natural at over communication. And that's one of the things that's going to be required, is that you got to learn how to communicate all the time, and make sure that people know that you're there for them and that you're preempting. You have to be ahead of the curve. So before people are questioning something, you have to be sending out the answer. Does that make sense? So learn how to communicate. I mean, get used to using Messenger, or get used to using text messages a whole lot more than you want, and get used to picking up the phone and calling people and talking to them and really connecting with them.
Yeah, see, I'm good at one-on-one. Like, I can talk to people all day. I'd probably talk on the phone more than she does.
Yeah.
But,
Good.
It's like posting on Facebook and stuff that I'm like, I don't really want to post. Like, it feels weird. Like, all the graphics feel really girly, and I'm like,
Make
I don't do graphics very often. I mean, very, very few, and they're definitely not girly ones.
And Tim made a video that was like all about the men, and it was like things blowing up, and like,
it was kind of tongue in cheek, but you know, like, the whole thing is like, do you? I mean, be a man. There's no reason to do what everybody else is doing just because it's, you know, women have these things that they do and it works and it's awesome. Do do things that represent you. I mean, I talk a lot about fitness, and that's one of the things that I got into after Plexus. I started getting into fitness. But whatever you do, do you.
And one thing that Tim has done 100% better than me is we both are kind of old school where we get on the phone and talk to people and not just hide behind Messenger, but Tim he just calls his downline all day long. Like, how you doing? Like, what do we got going on? He's just on the phone. And it's made the biggest impact. So anyways, hopefully that was good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like that would help all men on here. Like, what do I do every day? Because we don't know. Thanks, so.
Well,
I wanted to say I'm sorry you guys were talking to me before, and my mom called in the middle on my cell phone, and I couldn't hear you. So you probably normal advice. And then my husband just walked in, so I wanted him to say hi. He's actually never been on a call with me before, so this is perfect.
Oh, cool.
Hey.
How you doing?
Doing well.
Great.
Great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah. So thank you so much for jumping on here. This was amazing.
Good. Hopefully it can help.
Excellent. I love seeing all the couples. Mine was like over here watching, but you couldn't see him for a while. So I even had my hubby kind of listening. This was good stuff. And Robert came to the training, so he got to meet Tim and Michelle too. So was
awesome.
Continue to be blessed by what they have to share with us. So thanks you guys so much for spending your time with us and sharing, and I know inspiring all of us in different ways. So thanks you guys. And as far as Hawaii Hustlers goes, I think this week we're kind of wrapping it up. So we want to just say to all of the participants, it's been an amazing challenge. Everybody's just done an awesome job. This month you're gonna see us sort of doing some new wrap up types of things. So love you guys, and you guys go out there and hustle. Bye.
Bye.
See you in a few.
Bye. Thank you.